Hello guys, welcome to the next video on HTML tutorial for beginners using HTML5. Now in this video we will learn about quotations and citations elements, and additionally we will also learn how to use computer code elements in HTML. So let's get started. So here are some of the tags which you can use as quotations and citation elements. And first tag which you can use is abbreviation or ABBR, and this abbreviation element represents an abbreviation or optionally provides a full description of your text. Okay, now second type of element which you can use is this address, and as the name suggests, you can use it for describing some address of some old location. Third type of element which you can use here is BDO or bidirectional override element, and using this element you can decide the direction of your text from left to right or right to left, right? The fourth type of element which you can use here is the block quote element, and this type of element you can use to quote a section of your paragraph which is taken from some other source. Okay, the next type of element which you can use here is cite element or citation element, and this element you can use to represent a reference to a creative work. For example, you want to show some ISO code or something like this which has something to do with creative rights, then you can use citation element. And the last element which you can use is this quotation element, which helps you to show a quotation on a line of text. Okay, so let's see how we can use them in real life HTML code. So in here you can see I have a paragraph and I use here quotation element here. So inside the paragraph you can use this quotation element, and this will provide the double quotes around this text which is inside your quotation element, right? The next type was the block quote, and if you want to quote some text which you have taken from some website or some other source, you can do it inside this block quote element, right? For example, you take this content from the website, then you can use the site attribute, and then you can provide the link where you have taken this code from. Okay, so this is block quote. Now the next type is abbreviation, right? Now for example, you want to show the user that this is an HTML text, but when he hovers over your HTML text, you want to show some description of it, or you want to show the full form of HTML, which is hypertext markup language, then this abbreviation element will help you for this. Then the next type is the address element, and as you can see, you can show the address of some place inside this address element. The next type is the citation element. Now you can see here I have a paragraph here. More information can be found in ISO 00 or whatever ISO number it is, right? So this is some creative content which I can use inside my web page, but I can provide this citation so the reader will know that it is cited from somewhere, right? Now the last type of element which you can use is BDO, right? So normally when you write a paragraph, you will include in this paragraph tag, and it will be shown from left to right. Now in some cases there are some languages which start from left to right, then you can use this BDO element inside a paragraph element, and you can provide the direction by this attribute called dir is equal to RTL. RTL stands for right to left. So then your text will be shown from right to left. So for example, T will come at the extreme left, then H, then I, then S from the left, right? So let's save our code and let's see how they look on the web page. So I will refresh this web page, and you can see first was the quotation element, and you see double quotes here. This paragraph is enclosed by the double quotes. Second was the block quote, and was the text which we wanted to show inside the block code. So it gives you this quotation. Now next was the abbreviation element, and when you hover over this HTML, you can see the description of HTML which we have provided, right? So it will show you the full form or whatever description you want to provide for this text. Now next was the address element, and this will look like this. The next was the citation element, and we have included this text inside the citation element, and it will look like this. The next was the BDO element, or bidirectional override, and you can see this text starts from left. T starts here, then H, then I, then S. So it's from left to right. Okay, so these are some of the citation elements and the quotation elements you can use in HTML. Now let's see what are the computer code element which we can use in HTML. So the first element which you can use for this purpose is the code element itself, and this element you can use to include some programming language code, right? Now second element which we can use is KBD element, or keyboard input element, which we can use to show the keyboard inputs, right? The third element which you can use is the sample element, and this element intended to identify the sample output from the computer program. Okay, the next element is the variable element, and this you can use to represent a mathematical variable. Okay, and the last element we have already seen is the pre element, and it preserves your line endings and spaces inside your text. Okay, now let's see how we can use them. So I will delete all this code from here. Now first of all, the code element you can use like this. So you have the code element, and then you can include your code inside this code element. Now remember that this code element will not preserve your spaces or line endings. Okay, so for that you need to include this code element inside a pre element in order to preserve the line endings and text, and that we will see later. The next is the KBD element. So for example, you want to show some keyboard input, you can include this inside this KBD element. For example, I want to show that I want to press Ctrl S, then I will include this Ctrl plus S inside this KBD element, and then it will look like a computer input. Okay, next is the variable element, and you can include a variable name. For example, x is equal to y plus 2. For example, you can include every letter inside this variable element, and it will look like a variable. The last is the sample element, and we will see how it looks like. It will look like a computer output when it's included in this SAMP element. Save this and refresh your web page, and now we can see this here. So first was the computer code element, and you can see here it's not preserving your spaces or line endings, right? So first of all, we need to include this code inside a pre element, right? So just include this inside a pre element like this, and then save your code and refresh your page, and now it will look like this. Okay, now the next was this KBD element, and it will look like a computer input like this. The next was the variable element, and these variables will look like this. And the last was the SAMP element or sample element, and the output of this will look like a computer output. Okay, so in this way you can use quotation elements and computer code elements in HTML. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please rate, comment and subscribe, and